Okay, it's 10 o'clock, so I'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for joining today's KETIV Virtual Academy session. We have Mario with us today, and he's going to be talking about Vault Data Standard. We're excited that you're here, and we hope you're enjoying the learning program. If you have any feedback or if you would like to give us ideas for topics that you'd like to see covered, please fill out the survey at the end of the session. It will show up in your browser link. And that's from Zoom. So go ahead and fill that out. Let us know what you'd like to see covered. That helps make this program better. On the next slide here, we also wanted to highlight our KETIV learning program. This is a subscription-based learning platform. It comes with both live and on-demand training for products in the Autodesk Product Design and Manufacturing Collection. This comes with your own KETIV advisor, personal learning plans, unique workshops each quarter, anything that your company specifically needs. You can learn more about the program and see all of the benefits on our website by scanning this code with your phone, or I will drop the link in the chat if you would like to check it out and see how it can benefit your company. We are so glad that you're here, and I'll let Mario take it away. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Okay, thanks, Christina. Okay, everyone. So today, we'll start with the introduction. So I'm a KETIV Application Engineer. Been with KETIV a little bit over a year now. Come from a electromechanical, the commercial automation background. Have 20 years experience with that, along with about 25 years doing 3D modeling with Inventor, and also 12 years doing CAD administration and Vault administration. And with KETIV here, I'm on the support team. So if you are calling into our support line, might be one of the people that talks to you, helps you out on there. So today we are going to be talking on Vault Data Standard. Short agenda for today is defining what Vault Data Standard is. We're going to be looking at the installation of Vault Data Standard, how it changes the save dialog box, and then we'll get into some basic configuration in a demonstration. Go ahead and start. What is Vault Data Standard? Vault Data Standard is pretty much the purpose of it is to standardize data management. Get all users to enter the information that you want entered. Can even go to levels of entering information in specific formats via pick list, which we'll show here a little further on. It improves the data consistency. So one of the examples I use a lot is when I was doing Vault administration, I would have users that would be grabbing models from, let's say, McMaster Car. But since the vendor field was just an open field, I'd have McMaster Car spelled out 15, 16, 17 different ways. Some MC car, some MC dash car, McMaster dash car, all of that fun stuff. So by utilizing data standard, you can actually have a pick list available so that the user selects common vendors, so that you maintain that common vendor name across when you're analyzing or sorting through your data. One of the main things that you will notice when installing data standards, and I have come across people that have installed this by accident, just people like me that like to check all the options, you will have encountered this when you go to save a part in Inventor. You will get the screen on your left versus the screen that you're used to on the right-hand side. So if that is the case, we'll also show you how to disable the data standard. There's a kind of like a soft disable that can be done, and then to do a full uninstall requires a little bit more work there. So, and just to note that this is also the dialog box that you will be seeing in Inventor and AutoCAD, since data standard kind of does jump across those. If you are utilizing Office documents in like Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint inside of your Vault, it will also pick up there as well. get this stuff here. This slide. Okay. So this is with regards to the installation of Vault Data Standard. So when you're installing your Vault Professional client, you will most likely come upon this screen. If you go ahead and check this, this will install the Vault Data Standard for you. And like I said, when you go ahead and open up Inventor and go to save, if you see the box on your left, you'll know that you have Data Standard. If you see the box on your right, you have not installed it or you have it disabled. So without any further ado, we'll go into the demonstration portion. One way to check if you have Data Standard loaded, you can go into your add-ins and you will see the Vault Data Standard here and see the loaded behavior and then load automatically if you want it to load with every start of Inventor. So for this example, I'm just going to generate a new part. And I'm going to go ahead and initiate a save. Which is bringing the default aspect here. Now let me go ahead and set up the data standard or load it. And we'll come across this box here. So the example that I'm going to use, because I'm actually in a library maintenance project here for a purchased part. You have categories, file categories in Vault, and we'll take a look at that as well. So those file categories are listed here for you to select from. And based on those categories, you will have various properties that are associated. So for example, if I go here to purchase parts, I want to know the vendor part number, the manufacturer part number, stock location. I have file and item category selected here as custom properties, title, description, and vendor. There is a configuration file that you open up in Notepad, which will allow you to configure the order of these various properties. But just to kind of give a look of what's going on here, what it is that we're looking at. Go ahead and bring up the Vault. All right, so like I say, inside of the Vault, go to Tools and Administration and Vault Settings. And then go to the Behaviors tab. And Categories. Typically, it starts with folder categories, but there are item categories, file categories, custom object categories. So we're going to be looking at the file categories here. So whenever I do custom file categories, I always put them in caps so I can distinguish from what was out of the box. So out of the box, you would normally see your base, design presentation, engineering, office, and standard file categories. An engineering file category will have a out of the box will have a life cycle associated to it. Will have certain revision schemes associated to it, and certain properties associated with it. So what I did for purchase parts, I created a file file category. I believe, yeah, not create life cycles or revisions on that particular one, but created some custom properties that you can see here. Now, going into these custom properties, for example, the manufacturer property, go into edit that. Here. To manufacturer, I'm here to edit. You're going to see a variety of options that are set up here. So initially, when you create a new property, it asks you what type. Typically, you're going to go with text. It wants to know where is this particular property or to what is it going to be associated. So in this case, at the file level, for manufacturer, I only want that associated with purchased parts, so no other file category. So it's only selected to show up in the purchased part category here. In the property values here is where you have a lot of control, pretty much potentially forcing your users to comply here. So you can start by having an initial value. You can, like I did here, create a pick list with various values. I just did some common manufacturers that I used in the past here. You can tell it to enforce the list of values, so that will make it so the user cannot manually enter another option here. They are forced to utilize only picking from this list here. Requires value, that means that it cannot be left empty. One thing to note here, if you are going to use requires value, I would get rid of the initial value because that would actually technically satisfy the requires value condition there. So let's deselect this guy here. Just the initial value there. And that will remove the initial value from your pick list here. You can also mandate case sensitivity. So if you have descriptions and titles that you want in uppercase, somebody's entering it in non-uppercase, it will not allow them to move forward. And if you're working with part numbers or even on descriptions, let's say with a potential MRP system, that is limited to a certain character count, you can control that here. Now here to the right, so this is a general control of this particular property. Over here to the right, we're looking at the purchase part category specifically. So you can actually control the, let's say, control specific to that particular category. So you can choose at the purchase part category level to enforce list of values, to have it require a value versus on other ends it not require value, and so forth. So there's additional conditioning, if you will, that you can do here. Going back to the purchase part category, looking at the properties that I've selected here, file category is a drop-down list that just creates a category that allows me to assign particular files in the manner that I would like, and also creates a category that allows me to sort at item levels. If I want to see things that are purchased parts. Add an item category goes a little bit more specific as to what it is that I'm looking at. In this case, we're going to be looking at a shaft collar. Manufacturer part number, stock location, title, that ties in directly to the iProperty in Inventor. Same thing with vendor, that's also an iProperty. Vendor part number, and then I also do weight. I like to calculate or see the calculated weight from Inventor and actually weigh the part and see how different those come across. Okay, I'm getting away from the properties now. I'm going to go ahead and simulate what this looks like here. Do it, for instance, if I went to McMaster Car and grabbed right here. So I'm looking at shaft collars in McMaster Car, looking for a 1/2 inch bore, black oxide, and what would be one piece, so to speak, instead of a 2-piece shaft collar. So come here, download our step file, which I've already done. Normally we'll copy the description here as needed. This is information that I want. Now I just happen to know that McMaster carries the Roland shaft collars. So I come in here and get some additional information, manufacturer part number and so forth, which will be your CL8-F here. With that being said, I'm going to come in and import the CAD file, the step file. Go ahead and convert that model into an Inventor part. Go ahead and come here and just save the part. In which my data standard here pops up. So with regards to location of saving, it's kind of a blocked system here. So I'm going to go here to manufacturer, Roland, so that's going to be my save location. And that's going to follow the format of your bolt here. So if we look here on the left-hand side, in my library, I created a manufacturing library folder and then the Roland manufacturer folder underneath that. You can see that I also have it duplicated here. I will show once we put the file in that you can actually have the file visible in both locations, even though it resides in one location. That's just another feature that you can do within Vault there. So what's going to change how I enter the information here is coming and selecting the category. By selecting purchase parts, now puts me with the properties that I want to get filled in here. And as you can notice, the ones that have the red line over it or the red border, those are mandated fields that need to get populated. I think we did manufacture, so that had that initial value. So we take care of that as well. So for the vendor part number, we know that it came from McMaster Car, so we can drop that in here. For vendor, since we have our pick list, go ahead and select McMaster Car. Manufacturer, this to be Roland. So go ahead and select that here. Looking at the Roland page, this is a CL-8-F. So populate that in the manufacturer part number. Stock location, say I have keeping these in stock. So I have a shelf out in the warehouse called S100. So go ahead and populate that there. File category, this is a purchased part. And within item category, this is a shaft color. So all of that information is now inputted on the forefront. And actually come here to the website. I believe they have weight on this too. You can throw in there if we wanted to for pounds. Again, I would always weigh these when they came in, but we'll just throw that for now, saying that we did. As far as naming this, it's gonna give it a file name of the manufacturer part number. See a question pop up. Okay. Continue on here. So one thing I also wanted to show on the manufacturer, so you can type information in, but let's say we tried to do Roland in lowercase here. It looks like, yeah, even trying to type in lowercase, it automatically goes to uppercase. So that's going to force uppercase to be in there regardless. Okay, and not until all the information is satisfied will it give the option okay here to save the part and check it in. So now coming back to the Vault, look here on the right-hand side with our properties. We have all of our user-defined properties there filled out. And if you create a custom view, we'll be able to look at vendor part number, be able to sort accordingly. You have all that information there as well. A couple things wanted to note if we look in Inventor. If we do generate, let's say, a new part, go to our iProperties and look at the Custom tab. You'll notice that it's blank. However, once we come here to do a save, we're going to save this in the same location. give it a different size number. So it's scale -10 F. Different stock location. Vendor part number. Let's give it some X's there. And vendor coming from McMaster-Carr. Weight here. And normally I would have these title and descriptions as mandated fields. Don't have those at the moment, but pretty easy to go and change those. Just gonna put color here. Actually, let's go ahead and change this so that it behaves with the all caps. We're gonna step out of this here. It's kind of showing you where the configuration for these various parts are. So coming back here to tools, administration, bolt settings. Come over to behaviors, look at properties. We're going to search for the title. One thing to note, this is you have to be an administrator in Vault to make these changes. And if you do make these changes, it does generate an index, re-indexing, which will make it so your users are not able to search within the Vault for quite some time, maybe 1 to 2 hours, depending on how many files are affected. Since I don't have many purchase parts listed here, it goes pretty quick. So this is something you definitely want to do after hours. So here under title, want to edit. And we want to give this an uppercase, and we want to make it a required value. Stanford description. Enter. Let's save our part. One thing to note on these changes, you do have to restart Inventor for them to take place. Let's go and take care of that right now. So doing manufacturing, Welland. You can see that our title and description are now mandatory fields. Again, I do not have the caps lock on right now, so I'm just typing normally here and it is automatically doing uppercase. Same for description here. Back to vendor, McMaster car, part number, 6, and a couple of X's there. Manufacturer, Roland, have this be CL-10-F. Stock location, this is a purchase part. Item category. Shaft color and a weight of 0.09. CL-10-F. Okay, so everything has been satisfied in order to hit OK. And that will save and check in our file with all the required metadata. So there are two different ways to configure. I'm going to show the basic configuration method. So let's say we wanted to add finish. This is the black oxide shaft collar finish. So let's say we want to add that. We'll go through the steps right now to do that. We'll also show here the file locations for configuration files. So we can look at that one first here. So it's going to be under C drive, program data, Autodesk Vault 2025 extensions, data standard. Once we are here, there's a variety of configuration files that you can look at. Right now, I just want to look at the custom ones. So this is going to be dealing with the user-defined properties that we've created. Coming here to configuration, and this you can open up in Notepad or Notepad++. Let's check in. All right. So here. So this is the, I guess, where you can configure the order of everything, how you want it to look. So this is looking at the moment, because I only have one custom category pretty much set up and selected there. So we have the category purchase parts. This is auto-generated, by the way. I did not create this. This was generated through the basic configuration that I'm going to show you guys. But if you did want to change any specific attributes, if you will, in order to sort this in a certain way, this is where you could come and do that. And that is, again, located in this file path here. So the way I went about populating these, so what we're going to do here is check out this one that we just created. Also to note, we're going to come here to iProperties, go to custom, and recall this was blank originally. Now it's been populated with all the custom properties because of the data standard here. And we will show that step as well, how those get generated in the property mapping. So we want to create a finished property. So Typically, you would create the finished property in Vault, your user-defined property, but if you wanted to participate with Vault Data Standard, it also needs to be here initially in one part so that you can import and map the property. Let's go ahead and show that here. Do finish, and we're going to give this a value of black oxide. And we're going to add that. Apply it, close, and save. Okay, now on the Vault side of things, we're going to come to Tools, Administration. Into the behaviors, go to Properties. Generate a new property. Called Finish. We're going to associate it specifically with the purchase parts. Technically, they can go with production parts too because they get black oxide, but we'll just do purchase parts for now. And what do we want here? So let's do a list of values. So one of those lists will be black oxide. We'll do a zinc plating. I know there's specifications for that, but we'll just keep it simple here. And we'll do a anodize. See, enforce a list of values. No, we want people to be able to populate that. Want it to require a value, so no initial value there. Definitely want it to be all uppercase and no min or max length. So that takes care of all the conditions that we're wanting there for the data standard on the front end. Next, we're going to come to the mapping. So this is the important thing. This is what's going to make this pop up as a property or as a field in the Vault Data Standard. So in the mapping, it's going to be a file. The provider is going to be Inventor, and we're going to go grab this part that we just created with that custom property. So we're going to import. Let's go from Vault. Find it easier. Import from file will be the same. It'd just be a Windows dialog box to locate the one in your local workspace. So coming here to library, manufacturer, Roland. We're going to touch on the CL10. Open that. So now that's going to bring in the part that we just saved. And here, finish. It's right there. So that's the custom property in Inventor that we want to map. All right, so it's a text property, it's custom. The mapping is bidirectional. Gets a little bit more advanced there, but typically that's the way you want to go. This is the important. You want it to create. So it's not something that's property, the custom property, and we want it to generate anytime that somebody selects a purchase part, because if they're creating a new part, by default, that custom property won't be there. So we want to tell it, yes, create this finished property when utilizing the Vault Data Standard. Go ahead and hit OK. All right, got all that taken care of. Again, for this to take place, have to come back to Inventor. Close Inventor and reopen it. This is because the XML files or configuration files are static files that get read by Inventor upon opening. So we've modified that file, but it has the initial version that it's looking at. Let's go ahead and reopen Inventor. We can realize these changes. While that's loading, just want to touch that this is just touching the surface of Vault Data Standard and what it can do. If you guys are watching, interested in seeing some other aspects of it, please just say so in the chat, and we can maybe do some additional coverage on these areas. So then go back and create a new part again. We already know that it exists in the one that we created, so we're looking at its new behavior. Right, save. See, my finish is not there. That's because I'm not in the right category. So go to purchase parts. There we go. That has now been populated there. So follow the same spiel as before. Part number, make this seal 12-F. Finish, we wanted that black oxide. So that gets selected. Common McMaster car part number goes there. Manufacturer. Also just hit the R, that'll get you there quickly too from the pick list. Connect the CL-12-F to fill in here, stock location. Let's say this is at 115 now, file category. Purchase part, so PU takes care of that. Item category, shaft collar, so S. Title. Vendor McMaster, weight 0.1. Hit OK. And you're all set. Pop back here to the Vault. To default views here. Yeah, we've got our vendor part numbers. If I wanted to, I could. Yeah, let's just do it for. So we can see it all here. Let's go ahead and add finish. Item category. Manufacturer part number, manufacturer, and vendor. So now if I want to look into my information, it's all here. All consistent, thanks to the data standard. And like I said, this is just kind of touching the surface on what can be done with data standard. Again, basic configuration, what I just showed you for adding properties, that's a basic configuration. You can add logos, you can do some automation that falls into it. Like I said, it gets pretty advanced if you wanted to go those levels to configure. does conclude the demonstration. So now any questions?
It looks like we have a question here in the chat, Mario.
Okay.
It says, does Vault Basic have the same standard?
No, Vault Data Standard only comes with Vault Professional.
And then we have another in the Q&A. It says, are there more options for numbering scheme with data standard?
Yes, there are. We didn't touch on the numbering scheme, but so it will follow the Vault number schemes. But if you go into the Visual Basic aspect of it, you can even generate a variety of other schemes. So it's look at Vault Data Standard as kind of like your front door into Vault with your consistent metadata, just properties that would normally get filled out on the back end on Vault, you're able to do on the front end. So same thing with numbering. So with the Visual Basic, you can, I think it's almost infinite as to the possibilities for your numbering schemes.
And we don't have any more questions from YouTube, but thank you for leading the session today, Mario, and thank you to everybody for joining. We'll
Yep.
send out a replay of this session to your email so you can share it with your colleagues.
Good.
Thanks, everybody, and we will see you at next week's KETIV Virtual Academy session. Have a great rest of your week.